Hi all, we'll just give it another minute to see if there's anyone else who will be joining us and we'll get started here. Hi all, thank you for joining us tonight for the Highway 99 Gateway Revitalization Project Stage 2. My name is Alexis Lorenz with WSP and I'm the Communication and Public Involvement Lead on the project, and I'll be your moderator today. Before we get started, I wanted to walk through a few housekeeping items. To reduce background noise, we're going to be muting attendees throughout the presentation. And then at the end of the presentation, we'll have a question and answer session where you're all encouraged to send us questions for us to talk through. Throughout the presentation, if those questions come up, feel free to drop them in the chat using the chat function. And at the end, we'll go back through and we'll read them out. We request that you send your questions individually and try to keep them 1 to 2 sentences in length. This helps us when reading out the questions and responding to them. Questions that are too long or too specific to an individual can be difficult for us to answer in the moment, and we might have to follow up with you offline. Now I'm going to turn your attention over to Rob English, the City of Edmonds engineer on the project, to walk you through our agenda.
Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for attending tonight, especially on a night where the weather's so nice. Our agenda tonight, we'll go over who's attending on the city's behalf. We also give a quick project overview of what the scope of the improvements are on the project, current schedule update, and then some of the things to expect as far as construction. Obviously, construction's well into progress. If you've traveled the corridor, you've seen the work that's occurring on the corridor, and kind of some of the different types of activities that have taken place so far. So we'll cover that and talk about some of the upcoming work as well. And then at the end, we'll provide a contact list for city staff as far as if you have questions or need to talk to somebody during construction. We do have ways of connecting immediately with folks here at the city level. So then at the end, we'll have questions and answers. So as far as people in attendance tonight, I'm of course Rob English, the city engineer with the city, and Jaime Hawkins. He's not here tonight. He's on the actually off on vacation. So we have Bertrand House, our transportation engineer, and Dave Rohde, he's running the technical side of this webinar. Alexis, who you met, she's the person that started us off tonight with our presentation. Robert Howell, he's the inspector on site and is quite familiar with what's happening on the construction. And then Lisa Reed, the design engineer. And so one of the things as far as receiving federal transportation funds is a Title VI requirement that for a survey of attendees. The survey is optional and it's anonymous. So if you have an opportunity to take a survey, we appreciate it. Again, it's anonymous and it's not required, but as part of our Title VI reporting requirements to the state, this is one of the surveys that we do at our public meetings on transportation projects. So if you have an opportunity, please take it if you wish. Okay. Alexis?
Awesome, thanks. I think next we're going to roll over into our project overview. That poll has pulled up. I'll give you a second to fill it out and then I'll close it here in about a minute or two. So Lisa, are you able to walk us through a little bit of the project background?
Absolutely. So there's three main elements of the project. The first is to construct, well, the project limits start at 244th Street Southwest, which is down at the city limits with Shoreline, and they extend north to the city of Edmonds city limits, which is around 210th Street Southwest. So just north of the 212. And there's three main project elements. The first is to construct raised landscape medians. And so instead of the two-way left turn lane, it's going to be converted into landscape medians, which you can see in the second photo there. And those will have left turn pockets. And I think we have 6 mid-turn U-turn pockets as well. The second element is gateway signage to welcome folks to the city of Edmonds. And there'll be one at the north end, which is the third picture you see there, around 210th for folks going southbound or coming southbound into Edmonds. And then as you're coming northbound into Edmonds out of Shoreline, there's going to be a sign over in front of the Campbell Nelson dealership that is a little lower and is shown in the last picture. And then the last element is on the next slide, is what we call a hawk signal, which is a high intensity activated crosswalk signal. And it's really a pedestrian signal that's going to be located about 600 feet north of the 234th Street Southwest intersection. And that's between the Community Health Center of Snohomish County and the apartment complex, the Park Place apartment complex. And this signal is pedestrian activated, and it will improve safety for people walking, rolling, and biking in the corridor, and provide an extra protected crossing where there is none between 228th and 238th. It's a really long stretch there with no options. The photo there shows one that's being installed right now on SR 104 down at the city park. I think it's actually, is it activated now, Bertrand? It isn't. It was just activated, right? Okay. And its primary function, the nice thing about the hawk signal that's unique is that you stop on a red light for pedestrians, but then after they've given a little bit of time for pedestrians to clear a couple of lanes, it starts to flash. And at that point, it kind of acts like a stoplight. So you stop, you look, and you get to go. So if you see the pedestrian has moved to the other side of the street or is safely out of your way, you're allowed to proceed if it's clear. And that's nice because it doesn't impact operations adversely just because it's a red light. So those are the main elements of the project. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to, I believe, Robert to talk about the work sequence and what to expect.
Okay, so we've started work, as you know, between 236th and 238th Street. We've got a large hole there that we've been, we have the adjacent lanes closed. We have completed the first of the low profile barrier curbs pours. We got many more to do. We have about 7,000 feet of low profile barrier curb on the project. So we've completed just under 300 feet. So it's going to be a long process, but we'll get it done. So we're currently working in this, also excavating the island that is to the south of 238th Street between 238th and 240th, and that's where the contractor is going to go next as soon as they're done with the island that's there by the Dollar Tree. So overall, we are installing the underground utilities for storm. We're doing water connection lines so we can have these islands irrigated, so we don't have to have crews doing it by hand. A lot of removing pavement, raising median. The hawk signal is going to be much later in the project. And in the end, we're going to be doing all new pavement markings, striping the roadway from the start up at 210th Street all the way down to 244th Street. We're going to have all new pavement markings. And next slide, please. So on the left picture there, that is a picture of what we face when we have to put in the irrigation crossings. In that picture, there's two different water mains, unmarked abandoned water main. We have storm sewers, storm sewer, and gas line. So it was quite a bit of stuff that we found underground when we were putting in the irrigation line. I had someone tell me years ago, the best civil engineering's never noticed, because it works just fine. So we're just hoping to keep it fine here. On the picture on the right, this is the saw cutting operation. Our subcontractor, Salinas Saw Cutting, ran 3 simultaneous saw cut machines to do a step cut, because you can't go down the full 16 inches of concrete and asphalt at the same time. So we had 3 machines running at the same time to increase efficiency. And there's the formwork as it started. That was before we did our first barrier pour just a couple days ago. That first section of barrier is now poured, and you can see it if you drive by there now, where they've already formed up the majority of the second pour, which is currently scheduled for Tuesday, although we are hoping to get concrete earlier. Next slide. Okay, so we may need to do night work. We don't have it in our current 3-week look ahead schedule, but if we do have to do night work, it will be limited to the section around Highway 104. That is the area where the roadway is narrow, and WashDOT has required us to work at nights in that section. Most of our work will occur between 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. all through the remainder of the corridor. So one of the things that we want to have everybody know that the bus lane through our work areas is to be treated as a general purpose lane. We have signs out there saying the right lane's open to all traffic. So you don't have to sit in that long queue line that everybody's doing right next to our work areas. You can go down the right lane, and that includes going through the signal at 238 right now. And as far as people for the sidewalks, currently we're not working on any of the sidewalks, but when we do, we will make sure that there are temporary detours for people walking, and we'll have spotters, flaggers and spotters to help people get by it when that work occurs. And of course, with all construction, there's always an increase in noise, dust, and vibration. And the current schedule, we're currently working on for line 1 here. We got the form, the rebar, the pour barrier curbs at Island 3, which is the one that's by the Dollar Tree. We're working on that. For this week, we also did the demo Island 2 and prep, and that is, we completed that today. Monday, it looks like we're surveying curbs, the actual curbs going in there. We're going to be prepping the side islands at 236th on both sides. That is the islands on the east and west side of the road. And that's going to be to turn those triangle areas into an obvious right turn only. And we're looking to do some paving and then hopefully reopening the roadway soon afterwards for Island 3 and towards the late August here is what I see. That's if all the concrete goes as per planned. Okay, I think that's it from my part.
Awesome. Thank you, Robert. We are nearing the end of the presentation. And so just a reminder, if you have any questions, to feel free to drop them into the chat, and we'll get to that question and answer session here shortly. Throughout the project, there are a lot of different ways for you to receive up-to-date information on the project. Every Tuesday, we are posting construction information to our website. That'll be the construction schedule, and that will be available so you'll always have the latest information. We also are sending out periodic email updates. If you're interested in receiving these updates, you can add your email to the chat and we will make sure that you are signed up after today, after we resolve tonight. And then you can also send any emails or call our 24-hour noise hotline at any time with questions. And attending these drop-in sessions like the one you're at today is another great way to get information. So now we are at that question and answer session. You can drop your questions into the chat, or I see we have a hand raised. You're also welcome and encouraged to raise your hand. If you raise your hand, I will unmute you and call on you, and you are asked to ask your question, after which you will go back on mute just so we can make sure we're controlling that background noise too throughout the presentation. As another reminder for you, please try to keep your questions 1 to 2 sentences in length. That will help make sure that we're answering the question specific for you. And then any questions that get too kind of detailed or into the weeds, we might want to take offline and follow up with you just so that we are focusing our time and attention on everyone in the room. All right, I see we have a hand raised here from Brenda. Brenda.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. The chat was disabled for me. I'm Brenda. I'm working as a freelance writer for an article for the Beacon, and I'm hoping to ask a question about the project a couple of weeks down the road when you have moved forward to where the Hazel construction is at. I'm just wondering what the plan is when they sometimes have 2 lanes blocked and you need sometimes 2 lanes blocked. Do you know if have you been in coordination with the staff in that construction zone? It's north of 234th.
I can field that one. Yes, we've been in conversations with them, and we won't have conflicting traffic control with the building being constructed there. If we have to skip past that and then come back to that area, that's what we'll end up having to do. They told us that they should be ending sometime in August, and it might, so there may not be a conflict at all. But if we do run out of work, then yes, we are going to continue past it and then come back.
Okay, thank you.
And thanks for letting us know about that button. I have reactivated the chat there, so you all should be able to drop your questions through there as well.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions that we have? Roger, I see your hand was up.
Okay, yes, I was just curious. I've observed some of the construction there, and have you had any issues with the abutting businesses and property owners? It looks like the access in and out of the driveways seems to be functioning well, but then I haven't been out there for the whole period. How is that working for you?
We haven't had any issues with the property owners at all. We've tried very hard to be conscientious of all making sure that there's always a driveway. We've always have flaggers and spotters available to help as needed. Most of our work is in the middle, like you see in these 2 pictures, so we're not blocking the driveways at all. There's the biggest issue that we have seen is from drivers who think that they need to go around our island and into the oncoming traffic and take a left into the businesses anyway, instead of going down to the intersection, doing a U-turn and coming back.
Got it. Okay, now you're confirming my observations, so that's good. I noticed in one of your earlier slides all the old existing wet utilities under the median there, and I'm assuming they will all be left in place, and when they need fixing or replacing in the future, then the median gets torn up. And
all those utilities were in the northbound bat lane, under the bat lane and the lane next to it. So most of the utilities are over on the east side of the northbound lanes.
oh, great. So
Yeah.
not under the median itself then. So
Right. What's under the median is a fiber optic trunk, and that's about it.
got it. Okay, well, that's all good news. Thank you.
Thank you. We did get another question here in the chat. It is there any consideration to install a pedestrian overpass ramp to increase safety and bike access to the Montlake Terrace Park and Ride light rail above and beyond this project? Lisa, are you able to speak to that?
I think that's probably a better question for Robert Bertrand.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can probably fill this one, Alexis. Yeah, thank you. At this time, no, there's not. 228th, we did do an improvement there, 5-6 years ago to provide the signal. So that crosswalk is protected now, at least a protected crosswalk, but there are no plans for an overhead pedestrian crossing. And I don't know, Bertrand, if you wanted to add anything to that.
All right. Roger, I see you have your hand up again.
Oh, I was trying to lower my hand. I guess I did it the other way. One last no, never mind.
All right.
I'll lower it this time. Thank you.
Perfect. Any other questions? That is all we have in the chat, but we do have a few more minutes here. Well, thank you all for joining us today. Rob, is there anything you would like to add before we adjourn?
Yeah, just again, I'd like to thank everybody that attended and took time out of their evening to be part of this meeting. And again, if anything comes up during construction and you have questions, we've provided several ways of contacting the city, or even a phone number, 24-hour phone number. That's actually connected to Robert. So that's for most of the time you'll be talking right to Robert when you make that call, and he's the one that's out in the field and can probably address things the quickest. So anyway, thank you for attending.
Awesome. Well, have a great night, everyone, and we hope to see you at our next event.